I've been in a really dark place for a long time. I was born and raised in Colombia. I lived there until I was 6 years old, and then my family came here to the United States, where I lived in Florida for about 8 years before we moved here. When my family left Colombia, it was due in part to a lot of the political unrest that was happening at the time. Children do not have eyes for war. They don't understand it or comprehend it in the way that man does. Because war is a machine made by man, I feel. So growing up, I didn't understand why we had to leave my home. And I unfortunately carried a lot of pain and resentment towards my family because they didn't really tell me why we were leaving. I didn't even know that we were coming here to stay to the United States. And in the place that we lived, there was a lot of negativity and a lot of darkness in the hearts of people there as well. So I experienced a lot of that pushback and opposition from a very early age. But there was something that stayed with me for many, many years to keep me strong, especially in my faith. Going to church was literally sanctuary for me and for my soul. The fact that I could come to a space that was set apart from the rest of the world meant so much to me in those times. And that I was safe spiritually and physically for a child who was taken from home without really knowing why made all the difference. My mom has a story that she tells me every time that I have dared to doubt my self-worth, and I feel prompted to share it with you. When I was about to be born, my mother was in labor, and they were taking her to the salon where they would have the women prepared before they would take her to the operating room and where she would give birth to me. And up until that point, she was stressed out and she was concerned. But it was interesting because she said that as they were pulling her into the room, she started hearing music. And she thought, oh, this is so lovely. This is so nice of this hospital to put very kind, loving, like just beautiful music. And she felt it was such a beautiful, beautiful moment for her. And then she was guided through the labor process, and after that point, I was born. And as soon as I was born, the music just stopped, and she wasn't sure why. And so they did the process, they cleaned me, I was just a baby. And she finally asked the nurse, she's like, what happened to the music that was playing? It was so lovely. And it put me at such ease. And the nurse just looked at her like she grew a second head. And she was like, what are you talking about? What music? We don't play any music here. And my mom insisted, she's like, no, you were playing music. And it was very beautiful. And the nurse insisted, and the doctor even came, he's like, no, we don't play any music here. And she took that as a way of telling me that my birth here is important and that my being here is important. Maybe not everyone is born with choirs being sung to their mothers.
Yeah.
But God rejoices at every birth. I have realized that none of us are insignificant. Every single one of us has a role to play. There's so much opportunity for all of us to make an impact on others. And I think I've closed myself off because of the opposition that I have been receiving so much recently, that I've been disconnected from my faith with Christ, because it was so difficult and sometimes frustrating for me to feel so much and yet be so misunderstood. He wants to guide you and mold you. He is the perfect gardener. He is the perfect creator. He sees with eyes that we are trying to see. No matter how hard man or devil or tempest may push at you, God himself can cool it all. Every bit of opposition that pushes at you is a test also to your character. All I can say from my personal experience as someone who, unfortunately and quite foolishly, allowed myself to think that I wasn't strong enough. God will always say you're strong enough. You just have to reach out and accept Him.